Hello. Welcome to In Bed with Books, the podcast where we talk about smutty fantasy, classics, and more. My name is Melissa.
And I'm Bethany. If you'd like to find more of us, you can find us on our website, inbedwithbookspod.com, YouTube for video versions of the podcast, or wherever you pod on Spotify and Apple Podcasts.
If you want to see us outside of the podcast, then head over to Instagram and follow us at In Bed with Books Pod.
Thanks for being here. Let's jump right in. It's okay. We only have 14 gigs left on the computer. That's fine. It goes really fast.
Yeah.
When you're dealing with video. I'm like, okay. A clean house.
So before we started recording, I was like squeezing in some food. I worked all day today because I think I'm finally caught up from moving because the move took a day longer than we planned because of like issues with the truck and everything.
Yeah.
But I finally caught up and still kind of like working all day to like get things back in order and everything because I'm unpacking and stuff as I'm living here again.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, all that to say, I had a late dinner tonight, and I know that citrus drinks will make spicy things worse, but like knowing and practicing knowing the thing are two different things.
Yes.
So literally before we got on, I had Sunny D because my mom picked up Sunny D from the store. She loves Sunny D. I haven't had it in years. I just I saw it and I had a craving.
And weirdly, Sunny D is like more acidic than you think it is.
Yes.
It's more like tart than you think it is.
Yes. Especially because like knowing how much sugar is in there, I was like, it's fine, you know? So I grabbed a cup as I've got stuffed jalapeno poppers heating up. And so, I mean, I had
goodbye, asshole.
Yeah, I know. I saw it. So I had these the other day and they were fine. Yeah. My mom picks out like most of the seeds, if not all of the seeds. And I swear to you, my mouth was on fire. Like I cried.
Oh. Yeah.
Like not like I was sobbing because it hurt so bad, but just like the involuntary, like my eyes were just like draining and my nose, I had to blow my nose for like 20 minutes. I was recovering, like 2 glasses of water and a glass of milk later.
You poor baby.
And I was like, I'm not a bitch. Like, why was it that bad? So my mouth, like my tongue is still a little tender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't do spicy things.
I love spicy.
Yeah. I just can't. I just can't. I most of it is because I have acid reflux. So
yeah.
It just doesn't, those things don't pair.
I do too. I just take a lot of antacids.
Yeah.
Because I'm also, I mean, my mom makes really good salsa.
Oh, I'm sure.
I already can't have gluten. I'm not going to deny myself anything else. Yeah.
I feel like I'm already so limited.
Yeah, exactly.
I already have to take lactase.
Yeah, I do. My mom has one where the dosage means I have to take 3 for it to be effective.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. My friend,
almost 30.
Yeah. My friend, she recently took out dairy and she was already gluten-free and vegetarian.
Yeah.
So that doesn't leave you with much else.
Yeah.
But she's breastfeeding right now and she produces a lot. And so she's like, apparently that's a very sought after product because she donates it to other mothers and stuff.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So because a lot of some babies need like dairy free or whatever. Yeah. And I was like, how do you do that? Like, I mean, I didn't ask her, but I should. It's like, how do you be, because she's been vegetarian since she was 8 and then gluten-free, like the past at least 10 years, I think. And then recently she was just like, I just thought about the baby cows being taken from their mothers. And then she was like, I couldn't do it. She's like, being a mother has just changed everything. So I was like, oh yeah. I was like, I mean, we kind of still eat cheese a little bit, but like, yeah, we don't drink milk really anymore, but
milk will like really screw me up.
Yeah.
I say milk, but it was like it was almond milk. I just wanted some of the fats to kind of clean off my tongue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like my milk, the milk that I drink.
My milk.
Not your milk, but you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
my kind of milk.
Yeah.
My milk.
Honestly, dairy is probably next for me.
Yeah.
Because at some point
You're like, I don't know if I can get away with this anymore for very much longer.
Exactly. Like the jalapeno poppers were stuffed with cream cheese, and that's why I had to take 3 Lactaid.
Yeah.
Like, people are gonna hear this and they're gonna text or like message us and they're gonna be like, taking 3 Lactaid is super dangerous for you. It's like, okay, I know that, but cheese.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. I
Cheese?
was born and raised in the Midwest.
Cheese?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend too who she's like, I have another friend who has just learned that she's actually allergic to dairy. So she continues to eat it. Eventually she'll need like a shot.
EpiPen.
Yeah. And she's like, what do I do when my grandma comes back from Mexico with her cheese?
Yep.
And she's like, I was like, just take a Lactaid, just the one time of year, it'll be fine.
But that's
she's like,
that's
no!
literally what I was just thinking. I was like, if you don't eat cheese any other time,
yeah,
then you don't make it worse, and you can just eat her cheese from Mexico.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that's what you're saving all of your like enzymes for.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. And as I was thinking that, I was like, this is why people make fun of people that are lactose intolerant.
Yeah.
Like, we are. We're like scheduling when to eat cheese.
Yes.
So.
And then the meme of Liz Lemon and her Snuggie eating, working on my night cheese. She's sitting on the couch with a big block of cheese, just eating it. Those were the days.
I just shred a whole thing and then
just eat the shreds.
You have to eat half of it to make sure it's cheese. And then you use the other half to make whatever you're making. Yeah. I want to make sure it's not poison for my family.
Yeah. You just like go past in the kitchen. It's like noodles.
It's the tax.
That's how I am with noodles. I'm like, there's fresh noodles in the sink, and I'm like,
you just got to test that it's a noodle and that it's safe for the family.
Yes.
Which is our job.
It's our job as humans.
Yeah. All right.
So today we are in bed with authors.
Yeah.
And I think
now that you say it out loud, I am hearing a little bit more of the implication.
Oh yeah.
I don't think we should change it.
No, we shouldn't. It's our brand. Yes. But you know what we mean when we say it. But we are talking about all of our like the memorable authors in our life of reading. And I think we've decided to kind of start from childhood and just kind of work our way through our reading journey.
Yeah.
I sound like the Bachelorette. My journey. Yeah, I already need to like slow down on the wine. I've only had like a couple of sips. It's really intense. I think wine specifically is doing that, you know?
Gosh, yeah.
It's weird. I gotta last the episode.
Yeah.
I can't just be like another thing. Belligerent.
We'll have to be careful for the finale.
Yeah. All right, do you want to go first? We can just kind of talk about like talk about childhood and then talk about maybe adolescent or something like that.
Yeah. Okay, so I will start with an author. Okay, so I think I've mentioned this before a little bit, but like I've been reading for as long as I can remember. Like I can vaguely remember some books from when I was younger, but not enough to even really search for them.
Yeah.
Like I remember a bog. I can't just search children books about bogs because it'd be like more like preteen books about bogs. Like, okay. So the first series that I really got into that like did it for me was the Percy Jackson series, which I've talked about numerous times on here. But also I'm going to do a little comparison here. So okay. Got to get into position so I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So they are written by Rick Riordan, I
Mhm.
want to say is how his last name is spelled or pronounced. So he wrote like 15 books in this universe, in the Percy Jackson universe. And well, I guess that are based around like Greek and Roman myth, because he
Mhm.
also did an Egypt series, which was connected. They had like a short story that connected the two series, so
Mhm.
they existed in the same world. And they did a Norse myth one, or he did a Norse myth one that was based on the cousin of a main character from the Percy Jackson series. So they're all connected. There's got to be like 20 books in this by now, 20
Mhm.
plus books. But if I read the truth, from what I understand, his character Percy Jackson was loosely based on his son, because his son had ADHD, he had dyslexia, I guess has like learning disabilities, and so he wanted to create a character that his son could connect with
Mm.
and like feel like he wasn't, I guess, like not right,
Mhm.
like give him a hero to look up to.
Yeah.
And so what he did was, okay, so the premise of Percy Jackson is that there are demigods and they're like the kids of Greek gods or whatever gods, because like all of the series they touch on different ones. So in the Percy Jackson series specifically, it's Greek gods. And so the way there's like these indicators of if they're a demigod, and they've got dyslexia, they've got ADHD, and it's because they're like their divine blood from their parent is giving them like battle skills, and so the ADHD is really just like the energy, like
Mhm.
not like the vibe energy, but like the internal, like your energy during a day. It's
Mhm.
because they're like made for battle. Because even in like Greek myth, it was all
Mhm.
of the demigods became a warrior of some sort. And so they have dyslexia because their brain is trying to read Greek, and so it's trying to turn it into Greek. And so there's like this really, it's just funny and it's cute and
Mhm.
it's fun because he did it to like help his son. So the comparison bit here is that it's often compared to Harry Potter, because kind
Mhm.
of similar trajectories where Harry Potter turns 11, goes to Hogwarts. Percy Jackson turns, I think, 12, maybe even 11, goes to Camp Half-Blood so that he can be with the other kids and they're protected from the monsters that can now smell their divine blood. But the difference is when Rick Riordan has made not nice comments in the past, he has like explicitly apologized for them. And so
Mhm.
not only is he like a good author, but he is also like shown being a good person.
Mhm.
Which I feel like I don't even necessarily have to explain why comparing that to Harry Potter is my point here.
Yeah.
But he's made comments and then he listened to people and he changed. Like he made an effort to correct those things. And then beyond that, so the books are currently being turned into a show, and the girl who was cast as Annabeth is Black.
Mhm.
And Annabeth is the love interest. She is supposed to look like her mom, who is Athena. So she's got blonde hair, gray eyes, because Athena in myth is always described as having gray eyes. And so people fucking like blew a fucking gasket over the fact that Athena was cast and she's a Black girl. And from day one, Rick and his wife, I want to say her name is Becky, have been just so supportive of her.
Mhm.
And then like that reflects on the project, in my
Mhm.
opinion.
Yes.
And so like I'm just excited now. Like I get to relive the excitement that I had as a kid getting into books, and like he's not he's not saying shitty things on Twitter and ruining it.
Mhm.
He is like helping to reinforce that like safe space that he created for his son that became a safe space for so
Yeah.
many other kids,
Mhm.
Because like I don't have, as far as I know, I don't have ADHD. Definitely don't have dyslexia. But like I know I have some sort of undiagnosed neurodivergence.
Mm-hmm.
And so I do think that that's a big reason that I was so enthralled with those books, because that becomes like a big part of his character. I think books in general, I should say fiction in general, is about characters who feel like they don't fit in.
Mm-hmm.
But when you give it like a very specific thing and you give like preteens this thing to be like, oh, well, it's actually just because of this, even though they, you know, it's not real, but it gives you a distraction. It gives you a different way of looking at it than I'm stupid and I can't read, or I can't focus, and so obviously I'm lazy. You know, like things like that really help you as a kid.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's why his books are so special to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
I don't have a good counter to that, because that's like that's really sweet.
I know they're kids' books and there's like no smut in them, but I do highly recommend. They're very easy reads if you ever like find a minute or something.
And I need like
sweet.
something sweet. Yeah.
Yeah. Something wholesome.
Yeah.
And they are
I
dark.
like wholesome.
Not like super dark, but like for a kid's book, they deal.
They're Melissa dark.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where they're like, they're not scary.
Like there's like heavy, there's heavy themes.
Heavy
in there, and there's
stuff,
like some really, really sad stuff that happens because he's also like teaching kids how to be adults, basically.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things about when you're writing books that are kind of like young adult and like kind of just before young adult books. Like his, I think the age range is like middle school for his books. Is it like it's such like a formative age? You have to be writing things that are gonna teach them good lessons, you know?
So when did you read those? How old were you?
I picked up the third one first because it was at the Scholastic Book Fair. If we really want to throw it back there a little bit. Yeah. So it was at the Scholastic Book Fair. I picked up the third one because I think it had just come out. Let's see here. Let me Google it real quick. So it was 7th grade, which would have been 2007 or 2008, depending on what's like season. It probably would have been the fall, so 2007.
That's when I graduated.
Oh my God. Yeah, April 2007. So it was the new one. So it would have been fall of 2007. So yeah, that was the new book. It was called The Titan's Curse, number 3 in the series. And I didn't even plan on buying a book that day because, like I said, I mean, I was an avid reader generally, but like library, I didn't really have an aggressive attachment to books. Those were the books that did it to me. Then it was like, I have to own my books. I have to see them. I have to touch them and be able to go back to them and all of that. So yeah, so that was my first.
Yeah. I think my first honestly was the books that got me into like reading, to the point where I was in English class reading A Mystery by Mary Higgins Clark, and I would get in trouble for reading in math class.
Yep.
I got in trouble for reading in school.
That's like one of the stupidest things for people to get like mad at kids for.
Well, because they were like lecturing and I was just reading and not paying attention. So
I have my problems with the way that school is structured nowadays.
Yes.
And that is like a direct result of that. But
yeah, totally.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, growing up, if we're going to talk about childhood a little bit, is like, I was always in like the reading groups, the groups that would meet outside of class to like get better at reading. And my mom got like the phonics books. It wasn't Hooked on Phonics, but it was like something like phonics where they would ship you like little readers, little reading books. And I do remember those a lot. And so I was always stigmatized about it. Like I always felt like, oh God. And then 6th grade, did you ever have AR points? accelerated reader.
It rings a bell. What was it?
It was just a program that some schools used where you would earn points with every book you read in each book. Yeah. So like Harry Potter would be like 5 points. Or no, like depending on how long it was, it could be up to like 7 or something. I remember
by like page number, so like page count.
Yeah, so like a Nancy Drew book was like 4 points. So I was like, okay, cool. So I like that felt like good. But yeah, like just depending on how like long or thick they were like so many points, and I always had the lowest points. And Patrick always had the highest because he was like, he looked like Harry Potter too, because that was when like Harry Potter was really big, and we were like reading it in class, like along to like the Stephen Fry recording, like that was 5th grade. That was the 9/11 year. I remember that. So it was like, yeah, and the earthquake. That was a big year. There was an earthquake we had that in class. But there was anyways, he always had the highest AR points. Yeah. And I remember my teacher was a horrible teacher, and she would shame me about it. Jesus. And I did not like her. She was a bitch.
Yeah, I mean, you're fucking fifth grade. Yeah, let's shame a child. Okay, that'll definitely make her want to read more.
Yeah. Yeah, that was the Gore and Bush. Like run, man, that fucking 5th and 6th grade, that was when everything changed.
In 5th grade, when Al Gore was vice president of the United States. Yeah. I don't even know who was president when I was in 5th grade. It's probably still
probably
Bush.
Yeah, probably Bush.
Yeah. Obama was my 8th grade.
Obama was my first vote.
Oh wow.
I was very proud of that. Nice. I had Obama written on my car. This lady at my work was like, "You're gonna get shot," and I'm like, "What are you talking about?" Because she was just like, I mean, we lived in a small town, but it was like
threat?
I know. I was like, "What are you saying?" But I just had like, chalk all over my car with like, I went to his rally. I was really into politics, and then after that, who was after him?
Trump,
yeah. Like
8 years later.
Then it fell apart. Anyway.
Yeah. Fun fact. So my birthday's in January. And so I turned 18 just like mere months after an election. And so all my friends were talking about how they were going to be able to vote and everything. And I was like, oh,
that sucks.
That must be nice for you guys.
That's like, it's like, that would be like if you were turning 21, like in school, and everyone was turning 21 before you.
Yep.
And you're like, they're all going out and you're like left out. That's sad. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I mean,
because that is like the end of the school year.
Yeah.
Because
it's the beginning of fall semester, winter semester.
Yeah. Because like Nalani was born the same year, but she was a year below me.
Oh yeah.
Because I was in March and she was in November. Yep. And so I always thought she was so much younger than me. And she's like, I was born in 89. And I'm like, oh, okay. I forgot. Yeah. Because I just like, it's amazing what 1 year in school can like do.
And also like the weird rules that they have around who can be when. So when I was in elementary school, I think it was maybe 2 years younger than us, there was a pair of siblings and they were born in such a way that even though they weren't twins, they were in the same grade. Because like
they're Irish twins.
basically like his
born
birthday was like close, like at the very second half of summer. And then hers, like if this is like winter break for school, and then hers is kind of like the very beginning of the next summer. So they like just squeezed within that range, just like the opposite ends of it. Yeah. So fun fact.
Yeah. Anyways, we were talking about authors. Yeah, 5th and 6th grade were a big year. But yeah, I think it was middle school was when Lord of the Rings came out. and that changed my life. The movies.
Yeah.
The Fellowship came out and we loved it. Then Two Towers came out. Then I was like, what happens next? So I read them all out of order. I read Return of the King first.
Yeah.
And I remember reading it in home ec class. And then I read Two Towers. Or no, I read Fellowship next. And then I read The Hobbit. And then I read Two Towers or something like that. It was really funny. I've read Fellowship twice though. That's my favorite one because it has the most hobbits in it.
Yeah.
Naturally.
I've read that one twice, but only because I read it once all the way through, and then I've got it's not here. Where is it?
Oh, the one that's like all three of them.
Yeah, and so I like started another reread of it.
Uh-huh.
And I only got through one because then we started the podcast.
Yeah, and then we're like, oh, there go our reading goals.
Yep.
Our existing
if I want to
reading
meet
goals.
them, we better read it on the podcast.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's where I'm at now. But
yeah. So I couldn't put those down. I loved them, and then it just really got me into reading. But it wasn't until I remember in high school, my senior year, I did read A Wrinkle in Time, and I really enjoyed that. And I read those up through the summer after I graduated. So I remember I went to Colorado. Every read I associate with my location. I don't know why. That's just where my brain goes. I went to stay with my grandpa in Colorado, and I remember checking it out at the library. Like when the second one, A Wind in the Door, and then I read Many Waters, which was about the twins. I loved it because there was like kind of a love story, and there was just like Charles Wallace, her like little brother, was like really interesting character. I need to read those again. Yeah, I think that really primed me for really liking Le Guin. Because that was like the only, it's rare that like science fiction kind of like makes it into like young girls, I feel like that was kind of like really unique series in that way. And so it was very like scientific, and so Le Guin's like that, like times 100, just like for adults.
Very political.
Very cool. So
I think for kids, you like if you're trying to make a political comment, which I'm not going to comment on like whether or not kids should read things with political like,
we're not going to go there today.
But if you do want to incorporate some kind of political message into kids' books, you have to not do it very like topically.
A good example of this actually is Harry Potter, which is one of my favorite books, which is the fifth one. I don't remember. Dumbledore's Army.
Order of the Phoenix.
Is that it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Where they that's a revolution right there.
Yeah.
Against the lady. I don't know her name. I don't remember her name.
Umbridge.
Umbridge, yeah. Like that
but
was
it's
like
also like it's this little microcosm of she's becoming kind of like, not to use like a buzzword or anything, no one get any like offense by this, but I was gonna say fascist.
Yeah.
She's setting all these rules. She's like not letting them educate themselves properly.
Yeah.
She is trying to exert power that she's not entitled to.
Yeah.
Thinking of like when she tries to kick Trelawney off the school grounds. And I mean, this is from the movie. I don't remember specifically if this is from the book, but he is like, you don't have the right to kick them off the grounds. You can fire them if you want, but you can't do that. And she's like, for now.
Yeah. Very tyrannical, like.
Yeah. And so then they see an injustice and they develop a system to fight it.
Yes. Yeah. And I love that because it is spelled out in a context that works for kids.
Yeah.
Because it's like everyone loves to like hate the lunch lady, like the one person or whatever. Like, the leader, someone in authority. That's like very fun.
Someone abusing that. Yeah.
Yes.
Because like they all love McGonagall. Because she's also like a good person. And so I do like that we got to see that.
Like they have respect. Yeah. So there's respect and then there's like abuse
Yeah,
of
like
like
fear.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, and not putting labels on it. It's a way in which to like show politics and like context that works with kids. So yeah, I know what you mean. Like you can't really.
And I wonder how intentional that was too, knowing what we know about like Rowling now.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Again, not the conversation for today. It's just been on my mind a lot lately. I know I keep bringing it up a lot lately, but yeah, it's just been knocking around my noggin. Shoot, I had another point to go with that. I forgot. It's okay.
It's okay. Yeah.
Thank you. Okay. So I do have a list also of like some of the authors that I read as a kid and some of my favorite authors, like ones that I remember, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess going through my reading journey a little bit. So I read middle school age stuff in middle school, and I get to high school. And no, actually, I think in 8th grade, I read Twilight. So I think that it's entirely possible that my gateway drug into fantasy romance was Twilight.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Which really, now that I'm thinking about it, just a whole lot of other things make sense if that's the case.
Yeah. Yeah.
So so let me go through a few of the authors. We've got Melissa de la Cruz, and she did so I think it was Twilight, because I got on a really big I jumped from Greek myth stuff to Arthurian retellings, which I really enjoyed, and I still like to go back to those. To Twilight, which brought me to vampires and fantasy romance. So Melissa de la Cruz did the Blue Blood series, that one that I told you is kind of like Gossip Girl meets Dracula meets angels and demons. Yeah. It's a whole mishmash, and she actually, I believe it very recently came out. She rebooted the series. And so I am kind of curious to read that just to see what happens.
Yeah.
To all of the characters that I fell in love with. Let's see. Okay, so this is actually what got me into like the broody things. And I will say she is one of my, and I say this, but I haven't read her stuff in years, but it's also because like she wrote these books that were geared more towards like teenagers. And so once I wasn't a teenager, I didn't read them. Her name is Amelia Atwater Rhodes. And so the series that she wrote, let me pull it up. She actually did a couple of series. The thing is, you would love, they're so angsty. Like these feel like I can't even, like, thinking about how angsty they are. I wish I could show you the covers right now because they're just so.
Why not? Why can't you?
Okay, I'll show you. Hold on. Let's see here. Okay. Here is her website. So right over here, Amelia Atwater Rhodes. So let's see here. So she's got two main series that I remember reading, and Den of Shadows and I think it's Kaishra series. This one's about shapeshifters and this one's about vampires. both so angsty. I think this one was kind of standalones.
Mhm.
The copy of this one that I had was just his face, like just his face looking off to the side, all like angst like. And so
Emo.
like, yes, so emo. Like this one came out, I want to say in 2000. Let's see if it says.
Yeah, that one.
Does it say? Yes, this cover exactly.
Maybe 12-year. Maybe do the arrow right.
Where?
Turn it right.
This
Published
2008. Okay, so this was a later series. The Demon in the what is it? Den of Shadows must have been earlier. But so they're shapeshifters, and basically he turns into a snake, and I want to say she turns into a bird. So like we've got predators and prey here.
Yeah.
And they have to get married to help with a treaty. And so it's all about them falling in love. And he like sneaks into her room at one point because he turns into a snake and can like sneak past the guards and everything. Like that scene is imprinted on my mind because she's just like living her life in the like basically converted jail cell that she's sitting in. And she like sees him slither in, and he just like turns back into a human, and then he's just in her room. They must have done something if I like remember it that distinctly.
Yeah.
I just don't remember the sex, if they did have sex.
Yeah.
These books, the 90s angst that came out of them.
Yeah.
She really captured that, like the oh god, what's the kind of like Interview with a Vampire hype, like that vibe. Not saying that, like, not comparing their writing at all, but just like the demographic, I guess.
Yeah.
People that would enjoy that, which is this girl. So yeah. Just thinking about it again, I'm kind of like, do I need to reread those?
Yeah.
Just for research. To make sure that I remember them properly.
Yeah.
It was also my first. Okay, so the first book is one couple, and then the next couple of books, the next one is like her daughter, the next one is a cousin. So they do little time jumps and everything. And so that is one thing that I like about her stuff as well, is that she jumps to different stories, so that way it's fresh. But the previous characters are involved enough that you still get to like see where they are now. Like it feels very much like actors, where are they now kind of thing. But more involved.
Cameo.
Yeah, basically. So I want to say it was the third book, but their daughter in one of the books is the first time that I read about gay characters. And they wasn't even like, she's struggling with it and she doesn't know what to do and she doesn't want to disappoint her family.
Yeah, she's just there.
So she gets kidnapped. I'm just gonna spoil this. So okay. I'm so sorry to anyone who is hoping to read these and doesn't want to be spoiled. Jump ahead a little bit. She gets kidnapped and she escapes. But then she doesn't know where she is, and she's never really left her home because she's a princess and she can't really be going out and about on her own. And so in order to get back, she's just kind of scrapping it for a while. But a wolf finds her and they start to protect each other. And the thing is, after a while, she realizes that it's not just a wolf. It is actually a shapeshifter who shifted and was never able to shift back, which can, I think what happens, what we learn in there is that if they stay shifted too long, then they won't shift back. And so sometimes people in that universe will do it because they're super depressed and they want to leave their life.
Yeah.
And so slowly but surely, she kind of starts to like communicate with the wolf, and she figures out what happened. And basically, like, she was the wolf was left by a lover. The wolf is a woman. Very end of the book, she finds out everything that happened, like why she was kidnapped, like who in the family did this, blah, 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 blah. And in her defense, the lady turns back into a human And so little like 8th or 9th grade me is thinking that they're just going to be friends because
that's where things go.
yeah, exactly. Like through all of like history and English and everything, it's like they were really great friends. They lived in a 1-bedroom apartment for the like from when they were 21 to both of their deaths.
Yeah.
Like shit like that, where it's like, okay, now I know. But at the very end of the book, they just get together.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that blew my mind because I had never seen a story like that. So she was quite literally like my introduction to queerness.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just such a normalized experience to read that. And I'm like, I guarantee you I wouldn't be as like open-minded as I am now if it hadn't been for that being my first time, like really on my own experiencing it.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Well, that's good.
Okay, next one for you.
Next one for me. Well, so I don't know. I'm so my reading journey is just so different from yours. So
but that's perfect.
Yeah. So I think like I kind of went through like a big dry spell until I went back to college,
Mm-hmm.
which was like 5 or 6 years later after well, I went to community college. So, and then there was like a period in my 20s where I just worked. And then I went back when I was like 26 or 27. I think 27, 26. And that's when I met. No, I told you about that book. Okay. So recently I told you that I went to this lovely thrift store in the U District in Seattle.
Yes.
And
yes.
it made my dick very hard.
Yes.
And I was like, I love this so much. Mm-hmm. And they had a huge selection. And I just love getting like old books of like books I love, like the old versions. And so I got like a couple, and one of them was A Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. And it was the old cover, the little pocket book that's like this big, and it has like the original cover or whatever. So it was written in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And she lived in Berlin at the time. So there was a lot of Berlin Wall, very like, like Cold War, like the leftovers of Cold War, and like
darker, like industrial.
Yeah, just kind of. And so like A Handmaid's Tale is very like, you can't trust people, kind of that kind of feeling of and so I remember I got this book at like one of those like book fairs where you like fill a bag. And I just saw it. I saw the cover. I had no idea what it was. And I was like, this was before the show came out. And I just looked at it and I was like, oh my gosh, it looked like kind of medieval because it just had this like girl in like a red gown with like a white like nun headdress looking thing. And I was like, ooh, I like medieval. This sounds fun. And then I remember I like picked it up one day and I started reading and I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I didn't know what was happening because it was like in the 80s first. Yeah. And she was like
the 1980s.
Yeah.
Not like the 1280s.
In which, no, it was in the 90s, which was the future then.
Yes. Yeah.
So it was like supposed to be like happen like right after she wrote it. Right. Mm-hmm. And it's a dystopian novel. And so that was like my first experience with like dystopian. And it was also like the way in which it was written is like 80% of why it's good, in my opinion, is the experience of reading it. It's that like really intimate first person experience of being severely oppressed from being free to like imprisoned. And then it was just like such a great.
So I've got a question.
Read.
As somebody who has not read the book or seen the show. So everybody that's in the show, did they exist before the fertility issues started happening as well? So like that whole problem started within their lifetime. And so that whole system of like why they're getting oppressed started within their lifetime, right?
Yeah. So there was like
so they knew before, and they know like there's a distinct line for them timeline wise.
So there's like infertility going on because there's definitely flashbacks in the book in like the 70s, and they start and you kind of see it start happening. So there's always been like kind of this infertility thing going on, and then and then there's a coup for the government, and they take over, and then they start taking like women's bank accounts away, and you kind of see it like unravel like really subtly. And then there's like a whole war during the whole time. And anyways, but that's not what you start out with. Like that comes like later. So at first you're in the thick of it, you know, it's like really intense. Yeah. So what was my point? That kind of like Margaret Atwood, just kind of like, I also read Alias Grace, really liked that book a lot. She's just a brilliant writer. I really do want to write more of her or read more of her stuff. I do think like she's become a little sensationalized with the show.
Yeah.
Which
it happens.
And it's a bit sometimes it feels unfortunate, but then at the same time, people are reading the book now. So I guess I should just be glad for that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was so I also read it in school. So I've read it a couple of times. And then but then when I got into school, I read a lot. I met Ursula K. Le Guin in a book now. Okay. And I really liked her, and I read like a couple of her books as well. I'm on like the drugs are kicking in. The
ADHD or not ADHD, the anxiety drugs.
Yeah, my anxiety drugs, they start having a mind of their own. So I kind of think about in terms of like good authors is like someone I read more than one of their books. Because like I said, this period of my life I was reading a lot of classics. I wasn't like reading really fun stuff yet. And so if they could really grab me in one book that I wanted to read another one, that's good writing to me. And then a lot of it for me too is like writers versus authors. Like who's someone I want to spend time reading? Like I'm a big fan of like prose and like poetry, and Tolkien definitely added a lot of that for me. He
incorporates so many different kinds of writing styles. Like there's something for everybody in those books.
Yes. Yeah. And a lot of people didn't like the poetic scenery. I love that shit. I was all over it. Yeah. I was just like, tell me what it looks like.
Yeah. Tell me all about Lothlorien.
And he's just a beautiful writer. And so there's then there's like some of like my favorite writers who I haven't like read a lot of their stuff, but I like, it's like, so like, for example, F. Scott Fitzgerald is like The Great Gatsby. Like there's moments in that book that is just so like exquisite. Like I wouldn't say he's like my favorite author, but he's definitely up there with like writer. Like he's a gem.
There's something too that's so like, thinking specifically about The Great Gatsby, that like I know I won't get out of other books. And so as much as I love his stuff, I'm also like, I kind of just like what I've read. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Not in a bad way at all, but in a like, it was the book that did it for me.
Yeah. Yes.
So one of my favorite writers is Vonnegut.
Yes.
He's so like that is very much like the difference between you and me is like you would put Fitzgerald at your top, Vonnegut's at my top, because it's so straightforward. Yeah. Like the phrase "so it goes" is still like, that is like a mantra that I give myself. Because that like the influence that phrase had on me as a, like, I think I was junior or senior in high school. He's still, how old am I now? I'm 27. Okay. Still like 10 years later, I'm still invested in that as like it's there's some writers who will give you like they'll give you a scene and they'll give you everything in the scene. And there's some writers who will give you a person and give you everything that happened to the person.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like Vonnegut, his style is just so plain, but it's not, because it's plain enough that like he's giving you what you need.
Mm-hmm.
Just enough so that you can feel it without being fed it, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I love both ways.
He
but there's
he spells it out in his own like way. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And you can just like, you can see these little bits. There's so much just like left to the reader. And I love that so much.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree. Vonnegut is very good. And for the record, I wouldn't say like Fitzgerald's like the top for me.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I'm thinking of like even like high school reads.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cause like I don't know if I could put a top. I mean, I would say probably my most intimate relationship with a writer would be Wollstonecraft.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
But that's mainly because of the content and her passion, and her voice is like very shrewd. Like it's very unique. It's to her.
Yeah. The philosophy
and the emotion, because even like Letters is probably one of my favorite books. Letters during a short residence in Sweden, Norway, and Denmark or something like that.
Yeah. I think it's Norway, Sweden, and Denmark.
Yeah.
Or Denmark, Sweden, Norway.
I think you had it right the first time.
Did I?
No.
Okay.
Wait.
It's like one of us is bound to have the book.
Sweden, Norway, and Denmark. That's what I said.
I think that is what you said.
Yeah. Oh, good job.
That's
Beth.
funny.
Good job, Beth.
I think Norway is closer to England.
I think she does it in the order she went.
Yeah.
Because she ends.
So that's why
Denmark.
I assumed it was Norway.
Mm-hmm.
But she must have gone whoop, whoop.
Yeah, I remember. I think she started it in Sweden. Anyway.
That's fair. Anyway.
Yes. So like, and then when the fun reads came, right?
Yes.
Sarah J. Maas.
When you were like, oh, I can read.
I can like things. I can like
porn.
I can read
Can
porn.
help people about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we all know my story with Sarah J. Maas. She just like changed my life for the better.
Yeah.
If it weren't for her, this podcast would not exist. So
that's true. I'd be reading alone.
Mm-hmm.
I would not have read nearly as many books as I've read in the last year that we've been doing this.
Same.
So
it would have been another one of my hobbies that I started and gave up.
Yeah. I would have been like in a reading slump and be like, well, that was fun while it lasted, and then just not been reading right now. So, and
sometimes it's not about the books or the project, but it's the friends that you make along the way. Sorry, I always have to say that because it's true.
It is. Okay,
you're next. I think that's all of them for me.
Well, another one that I have that I actually I've thought about, and I couldn't remember who the author was and like what exactly the book was, but it's about fairies / yes, it's about fairies. Yes. And so I keep thinking like I need to find out what this book is so I can tell Bethany. It is YA, so not exactly smut, not moss status, but it's urban fantasy. The author is, oh my god, she's got, what the heck? Okay, sorry. So the author's name is Melissa Marr, Marr. Yes, which is exactly why I picked it up when I was I think it was 8th grade. Because I remember sitting in class after a test and I pulled it out to read, and the kid across the table from me thought that I had written the book because my hand was covering the last name enough that you could just see MAR, which is the beginning of my last name.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I didn't write this. Thank you for thinking I did.
Like,
yeah. Fucking like 13-year-old Melissa. Okay. So the series that I read is called the Wicked Lovely series. And she is still writing it.
Wow.
And she has part of this, like she's got like a second series based on that is an adult series, which I can't imagine what that means, what the difference is between those two. So the very top of so this one, I haven't read this one, and now I'm kind of like, I'm going to leave this page open. I'm going to buy this. I've decided right now. See, this is the problem when we do episodes like this, is I talk about things and I research and suddenly find out that authors that I love have, or that I loved as a teen, have new books out, or adult books that are based on the same storyline as the teen books that I read, and now I have to buy them. Oh no.
Oh no. Oh shucks.
Yeah. Oh dang it. At the very top of the page on her website, though, it says, "Note: this one is a wicked lovely adult book," in all caps. So if kids go looking for this, like, don't.
Not
I will
you.
be. I will be. Yeah, that warning. What's the from Arthur, the little sister? She's like, "That sign can't stop me. I can't read." So.
Oh God, what's her name? Starts with an
you know
R.
who I'm talking. Yeah.
Is it Ramona?
No.
What is he? The armadillo, or he's like something?
Aardvark. DW. Because their last name is Reed.
Yeah.
That's such a... Dora Winifred. I never knew that until just now. So yeah, so that is me reading that. This is an adult book.
Yeah.
So that's not going to stop me. That didn't stop me as a kid. So it's not going to stop me now as an adult. Yes, that is another one that is, I want to say that was one of my first fairy books. Because I've done fairies and pixies, and I definitely used to get them confused as a kid. But that was one of my first fairy books, and it's romance. A distinct thing. So she was good at like creating like really beautiful settings. I remember that distinctly. So like where Amelia Atwater Rhodes was definitely more character driven stories. One of the distinct things I remember from Melissa Marr's book is like a scene where the girl and the guy are laying in this like bed that's just made of pillows. And then I was like, I need to have a million pillows because it sounds so comfy. And now I've got back problems, but it was worth it.
It was worth all of the back problems.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah. So those are some of the like, I say formative just because they were clearly so important to me or influential on me as a kid that I remember them now. Because like I said, I mean, I've read more books than I can remember as a kid. And like, that's not to brag. I was just a nerdy kid who didn't have a lot of friends when I was younger. Yeah. And my mom would go to the library, so I'd go with her. And eventually, like, she didn't make me take out books, but eventually I just did.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was really young. So we would go to the library in Sterling Heights, and I would just go sit in the kids section, and that's where I would read those like Michigan Chillers, I think is what they were called. And so it was like cities, and I've mentioned this before. It's like the cities that are paired with monsters, so like the werewolves of Wayne County or shit like that. I don't know if that's actually one, but like in that style. Yeah. And like most libraries, they had like a limit on how many books you could take at a time. And so I would always hope that my mom didn't take too many, because I would come back with like 4 or 5 books. And after a while, she would just let me take them, because at first she was like, you're not going to read all those, because I was really, really young. She's thinking that Melissa is just, she doesn't know, like, we don't know that I'm a reader yet. She's just like, she's just getting excited. And so then I took 4 and I was done with them in a couple of weeks. Yeah. Less time than like they were checked out. So we went back, got several more. And like, that's how it was for most of my life. Yeah. So in my brain, I'm like, if these stand out, then they must have done something. Yes. Yes. Yeah. A few others that I want to give an honorable mention to, and I will give like short little spiels on them, mostly because I also want to convince you to possibly read some of them. Okay. So one is Becca Fitzpatrick. She did the series, the Hush Hush series, which is the Angel ones that I mentioned recently. So good. So good. It's like one of those, it's a small town and suspicious things happen, but we accept it because it's a small town. And city folk just don't understand.
Yeah.
Cassandra Clare, who we are going to be reading next season, and I'm very excited about.
Me too. I've seen her books forever. Yeah.
And I can't wait to experience that with you.
Yeah.
So Janet Lee Carey is another one. She did, let me look up the title real quick. I should have done this one before because I knew I was going to bring this up. She did, they're kind of medievalist, a little bit like fairy tale.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Yeah, I knew you would. So there's a couple of books that go together. Let's see here. Give me her website. So the first one is Dragon's Keep, and it's about this, I believe she's a princess. Is it this one? No, it's not. Okay. So I believe she's a princess, but she's got one of her fingers it's a dragon. It's got dragon scales and a talon on it. And so they kind of keep her locked away because they don't want people to think that there's something wrong with like the bloodline or whatever. And so it's from her point of view. So let me just read this real quick. Far away on Wild Island, wild with an E at the end, Princess Rosalind is born with a dragon claw where her ring finger should be. To hide the secret, the queen forces her to wear gloves at all times until a cure can be found so Rosalind can fulfill the prophecy to restore the family to the rightful throne. But her flaw cannot be separated from her fate. When she is carried off by the dragon, everything she thought she knew falls apart. The dragon sees beauty in her talon where her mother saw only shame, and Rosalind finally understands what her mother has truly denied her. A stunning portrayal of the complex relationship between a mother and a daughter in a lyrical novel sure to thrill readers who love fantasy and those who don't. I don't remember the mother and daughter relationship so much, but I do distinctly remember like that shift from shame to acceptance of her deformity. And again, like another kind of like I was talking about.
Really up my alley.
Yeah. But like another one like with Reardon, where that can really get translated anyway. Like if you have something that you have shame about, then you just have to experience somebody else to show you that it's okay. Beautiful books. They do have like the Renaissance feel at times. But yeah, she's written few that have the word dragon in it. And I don't remember how connected they are.
Do they have sex?
I don't think so.
I know. I was like,
no, that's fair.
I could feel it though. The possibility.
I know they're on Wild Island, so I don't know how like connected the stories are, but they are connected universe-wise. So
nice.
Yeah, so that is
we will have to add that to the list of Melissa's cringe.
Bethany's future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which we need to talk about because if we wanted to do like the first book of the series and then like move on to like each season, or if we wanted to do a series, because I know we were like, I had like Cassandra Clare, like, but
I think
we can discuss it because I think it might be fun to do like one of each.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Do like the first one of a series because then we can cover more ground that way.
Yeah.
I mean,
so we should do that one.
On the off chance we run out of books somehow, then we can do like a sequel or something.
Yeah.
But generally, I think for like this, we can just do the first one. Yeah.
Yeah.
And if anyone has books from like the early 2000s to like the 2010s, YA, fantasy romance, whatever that you read that you want us to read for the cringe, then please send us those because we're gonna run out of books at some point if we're just going off my memory.
I do think we should name the series in our episodes too.
Yeah.
Like we should call it Melissa's cringe. I don't know. Something
shorter than what we just said a few minutes
ago.
I
know. Like, yeah. We'll call it cringe series. colon
Cringe Corner.
Corner. Yeah.
Yeah, and then like whatever the book is.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm down for that.
But this medieval dragon one,
Okay.
we'll
Yes, we
do
will add that to
the
list.
season after. Yes. Okay. Because I'm on board.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you have any more in the list? Sorry, I interrupted you.
Well, C.S. Lewis is one.
Mhm, mhm,
So I read him before I read Tolkien.
mhm.
I read like the first 3-ish books of the Narnia series, and I loved those. That was definitely like my foray into
Fantasy.
like full fantasy, not
Mhm.
just like before then or around then. So like
It was like urban and
urban fantasy,
Yeah.
like we exist side by side with you, but Narnia was the first one where like, no, there's like a whole other world.
yeah.
And then I mean Mary Shelley.
Yeah.
Need I say
We
more?
can't. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even need to.
Yeah.
Another one actually off the top of my head that I didn't think about, but I think we're reading her book next season because I got to pick the classic for next season
Yes.
is Nella Larson.
Mhm.
Her language, her
Mhm.
it's okay. So like I read Quicksand and Passing, and it is character driven because it's definitely very internal, but the way she describes what the main character is experiencing is so beautiful. Like it's so, there's this like poetry to the way she's experiencing life that's so beautiful. So I'm excited for you to read that.
Yeah, I mean, I am excited. That sounds great.
Yeah,
I am a lover of poetry.
Yeah.
If we're gonna add poets to this, I would say Emily Bronte, because Wuthering Heights.
Yeah.
Because that was a brilliantly read, but I wouldn't say as like like it's kind of hard. Like there's writer, there's author, there's
Yeah.
That was her only fiction that she ever wrote. Everything else she wrote was poetry.
I'm a big fan of Nikita Gill.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking about poets, I know it's funny because like I wouldn't consider myself like somebody who enjoys poetry, but then I do occasionally. So like I really like Rilke and Mary Oliver.
We should do a episode in bed with poetry or something, and we just kind of talk about what we like.
I'd be down for that.
Yeah, that
Pull
would be
a few
fun.
of my favorite poems.
Because I have some pretty experimental stuff.
Okay.
That I read in college that is so good, and it has influenced me a lot. That like it's just amazing because I was exposed to these like really experimental like poets, and it's like, but not like, I don't know anyone who's heard of these people, and it's like they're not in like the top shelf or anything.
Yeah.
And it's like I sometimes like I realize how much I write like that, when I do like write poetry. Yeah. Cause like I get too bogged down with rules. I don't like rules.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of like the traditional poetry is about, and which is still beautiful, but so it would be fun to kind of see what it is that you're drawn to, and then like what I'm drawn to, and be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know poetry rules, so I don't know if I'm enjoying people who do like a structure, but we'll find out.
Yeah, that would be fun to like explore.
Yeah.
Like I love doing like games like that where I'm like, oh, interesting that you like this.
Yeah.
And then you point something out interesting that you're really drawn to this. And I'm like, oh, really? Like, I love that. Like, define me. Like,
yes.
tell me what I am. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
I'm so vain.
I think that's normal.
Yeah. It's pretty normal. Yeah. Look at us coming up with all of these ideas. We'll have to re-listen to this so that we can write these down.
Know what we say. Yeah. Okay, so what are we talking about next week?
Next week, I'm so excited because I am now on chapter 5, 6.
Yes,
I know, not very far. A River Enchanted by Rebecca Ross.
Yes.
I am absolutely loving this one. This is
Okay.
so up my alley. I think I'm, like I said in the last episode, I'm very much an Anglophile. Like,
Yeah.
and I really like Scotland. There's another series I've read that's based in Scotland, and there was something I read in college from like an ancient, like someone wrote down like all of like the bards around the country of Scotland in the 18th century, like, and he wrote down everything that they like had said about their history, like their oil
I think it was
history.
Robert Burns.
No, it was someone else.
It was a Scotsman though.
Yes.
Yeah.
His name was John something. And it's called the Ballad of Ossian or something like that. The Ossian. Oh, hi, baby. She's pooping right now. She has a weird look on her face.
And you're like, oh, okay.
I'm in the same room as my litter box. And so there's like just like this like relationship with like mist. I love, and like the wind and just like the earth and the elements is like really special. I just really like that.
Yeah.
About this book, about the River Enchanted. Like I was just like, yes.
Okay.
Like I like that kind of magic is really fun to me.
Yeah.
It's probably my favorite.
You're farther along than I am. So
we need to read The Lost Queen. That's what we need to read. You would fucking love it. Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good.
I'm passionate.
I pulled a cuticle and I'm bleeding. So.
Oh no. So we need to wrap up right now.
No.
You're like,
I mean,
no,
we can. I feel like we're like, we're wrapping up anyway, but we don't have to speed up on my account. I'll just, I'll be fine.
I like your calendar.
Thank you.
Who's that supposed to be?
It is, here, let me pull it down. Anck-su-namun from The Mummy.
Ooh.
Yes, she is Miss September.
Nice.
Mr. August was one of the Americans. He had one of my favorite positions so far.
Yeah.
I'm trying to restrain myself so I don't look through them all and like spoil it.
Yeah.
So.
You want to be like pleasantly surprised and excited when you see it.
Yeah. So that is next week. We are reading
we're so excited.
River Enchanted, which is I'm very excited for. It's also nice, like we have been reading a lot of very similar, and not in a bad way, I'm not complaining at all, but like a lot of very similar tales. So it's nice to branch out a little bit.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we read a lot of Fae last season. And kind of continued. But yeah. She's swinging.
Yeah, she is. Go stop her. We don't have a permit for that kind of behavior, so
no,
unfortunately. So that's exciting. So also the reason these episodes got flipped around a bit is totally on me. I misplanned because not only did I just move, but I'm potentially going to a wedding next weekend.
You're like flying out.
So,
yeah.
And so if everything goes according to plan, I will be going out of town next weekend. And so that kind of threw off all of our plans. Yay.
Yeah. So originally I think we had A River Enchanted and then this episode, but we just flip-flopped them because we need more time to read.
Yeah. I was like, oh yeah, I should be reading every single night this past week. So
yeah. And here we are, chapter 5.
Yep, exactly.
Of a fairly big book.
Yeah. Every time I see it, I die a little. In a good way. Like I want to read it.
If you want to listen to it, it's actually a very easy listen. And that's saying a lot from me. Yes.
Okay, cool.
I've actually been able to really follow along. It could just be because it's like super interesting for me.
I probably will then.
Topically. So, okay.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
How far are you? Okay. I love it. You're a better binge reader than I am. I hate binge reading.
That's the thing is like I know once I get
not with a deadline, it makes me read slower.
yeah.
If I'm like doing nothing but reading up until the time, it gives me so much anxiety.
Know that if I have like a good solid like weekend day, I'll knock out. I'll just read all day. And we've got like the new house that I'm with my parents. We've got like a living room that doesn't have a TV or anything.
That's nice.
It's like really well lit during the day. It's gorgeous in there. I take naps there almost every day because it's chronically ill and I have to take naps. Or I kind of just pass out at my desk. So
yeah.
Just girly things, I guess.
So is that when you're like when you kind of go MIA a little bit on social media?
Yeah.
Because you're like, usually always on, you know?
Yeah.
Like you're one of those people that like if I message you, you'll like message right back pretty much in the next 5 minutes. Well, and if that doesn't happen, then I'm like, she must be in the shower, or
she's napping,
or she's napping. I guess, that's what I've learned.
Because I'm on my phone for work, and so I just see the message, and so I'll respond to things, so I like can clear out the notification without forgetting to respond.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you like the distraction.
I do like the distraction.
Yeah.
I need like multiple forms of thing like
stimuli
going on, stimuli going around. I set up the second monitor, right? For the first couple of days, I did use it for like working on both, so I could work and then I would have like my chat here or whatever was going on. But then the last couple of days I've been doing such mindless work that it's Netflix work, which has been kind of really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. Well,
all right.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much for listening.
Yes, thank you for listening.
If you want to check more of us out, we are on YouTube. Please like and subscribe to us there. If you want to see even more of us, you can like come see us on Instagram at In Bed with Books Pod. And we have some merch available, and check out our website. I think
website, and I was going to say, if you want a discount, then join our mailing list, our email list, and you can get a little discount, little ditty on there.
10% off the shop.
15.
We don't know. 15 maybe. 15. Go find out.
That's what I'm looking. I'm looking up a couple of things.
No, I meant like I'm telling the listeners to go find out.
Oh yeah. It'll tell you once you join the email.
Yeah.
I set this up weeks ago, so I forgot.
I think it was 10. I think it was 10.
It was 10. Yeah.
Let's just say 10.
Yeah.
And if it's 15, good for you.
Yeah. Have fun with that.
Yeah.
Also, we are partnered with Noble Objects, the literary candle company.
Yes.
So if you would like 10% off your order, then go to their website and use code INBED10. That is INBED 10.
Yes. 10.
Yes. 10. Do not spell out the 10.
They have all of your favorite classics.
Oh my God.
Beautiful covers like on the candle, and they're so gorgeous.
I haven't unpacked my candles yet, any of my candles, because I need to like clear off some like space to put them.
Yeah.
But I am so ready to get them out. Because even now,
because it's fall.
Like, yes.
We all need to replenish our fall candles.
Yes. Thinking about how good that War of the Worlds candle smelled. That was so good. Like, that was one of my last very, very good memories at Houston. So which is not saying anything bad about Houston. It's just saying how fucking amazing that candle was.
Yeah.
That's good. Yes. So In Bed 10 for 10% off at Noble Objects, and join our mailing list for 10% off at our shop.
Yeah. And we have lots of stuff on there. So lots of daddy stuff.
Lots of new stuff.
Yeah, lots of new stuff. So check it out. All right. Until next week, happy reading.
Happy reading.
Bye.
Bye.